Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's session, we'll be discussing about Alteryx Macros. As we have already seen, we'll be working on data preparation, data cleaning, and all that stuff. So that we have seen, and we have seen how the Alteryx tools will be helping us to clean our data, to merge, append the data, all that stuff. Now, macros are also useful, very useful part of Alteryx Designer, where we can create a process, and that process can be reused again and again. If you have noticed, and if you have tried to explore, then whatever tools we have, all these are macros itself. So there is a big processes happening at the backend, regarding backend, behind the screen and behind the tools. For you it's just a small tool, but actually there is a big process happening behind that. As you can see, I'll just add this deploy tool, which is under predictive, and I'll just right click, and if I show you, then I'll show you a very big workflow, actually a macro, which is running behind the screen, and which is uh, helping you to get the result, to get you the predictive analytics and all that stuff, okay, without writing any code. So that is the reason why we call that Alteryx macros are very useful. So this is basically a macro which will be used to provide the functionality of deploy tool. Like this, there are hundreds of other macros which are available. So these are the small tool for you, but actually it's a big macro. So the same thing we can create, and we can bring up different kind of macros and all. So when you click on a canvas, this is basically a canvas screen, and when you are working on your standard workflows and all, then whatever you just click on the workflows, it will show you the standard workflow. But if you want to create macros or apps, Alteryx apps and all, then you have to use the interface tools. And whenever you add any of the tool here, any of the tool, let's say macro input, it's just a kind of input tool. The way we were getting input output tools to get the data, same way we can use the macro input. So macro input tool, again, it's a tool which helps us to get the data. Now if you click on the canvas configuration, and if you click on the workflow, it will show you the macro. Earlier it was showing you standard workflow, now it is showing you the macro. If you're creating an app, then it will show you app. Okay, and there are 4 different types of macros, macros like here standard macro, batch macro, iterative macro, location optimizer macro, and all. We will go through each of these macros in coming sessions, where I'll be discussing about each type of macro. But today we'll see a very basic example which will help you to realize that how macros can be used. So this will give you a kind of information that macros will be used, and you can reuse them again and again in your workflows requirements. So here I'm just creating an input tool, and this tool will help me to get the data from different sources. Let's say it can be a text file, or it can be a file input file, configure, where I can load the data from different sources. I can connect to databases and all. Okay, for now I'm just loading the data from a text input. So I'm just taking a text input data, and I'll just name this column as a number. Okay, and I'll just get a few numbers here. So I'll get 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. So I have just taken these 6 values here. So this is basically going to be as byte, as we know. So the data what you are typing here, it will consider as byte. So for now, so that because my requirement will be to load the double data and all that kind of information, so what I'll do, here itself I can just change this to double or something. Okay, so I'll just have a double, change the data type to double. Okay, so this I have done here, and now I can proceed further. So as I told you, macro will be helping you to create to repeat the process again and again. So what I want to do a formula. So I'll just go to preparation, and I'll get a formula tool. Okay, so this formula tool will help me to get the data and do the calculation. So I'll just get a new column, so say result. Okay, so that is the new column which I am creating, and I have this number column. So I'll take this number column, and I'll say multiply by 5. So this is the column which I am taking, and obviously I want this data to be showing up here as double. So that is the data type which I have defined here. But going back to the macro input tool, like here I have to define few things. So I can name this tool as input data, which is going to get the data for me. And abbreviation, when I will use this macro, the input should show me some information so that I can easily identify that okay, here I have to attach the input. Okay, so I'll just name it as I. And if you want to see the field map, if you want to show the optional incoming connection for the input data tool, then you can use it. This is quite important, and you have to learn about this. Okay, read about this thing. Okay, and that's all for now, and I'll just get the output. So for output, again, I don't need to use a normal output tool. I'll have another tool called macro output, so that will get me the output here. So okay, I'll name it again here the same way. So output data, that's all. I don't have to do anything else, just a couple of details and you are done. I'll name it as O. Okay, but do you think like the macro is created? No, because we have not defined. Macro is a thing like which will repeat the process. Now I have defined the calculation as number multiplied by 5, but I want to change this value as something 10. I don't want to hard code this value. I want to keep on changing this value. So how do I do that? So for that, we will add few interactive options, interactive tools. So those are again part of interface tools. So we have this drop down, list box, check box, and radio buttons and text boxes and all that. For now, I'll just add a text box. Okay, and this way, like what I can do, I can attach it to my tool. So text box will allow me to text box will allow me to add information, pass on the information so that my user can see the what they have to do. So enter the value for, I'll say like this, enter the value for result. You can leave all these detailed default text and all that, not required. Now what you have to do, and one thing, if you have noticed that since we are working on the macros, so select tool, formula tool, these are quite different what you have already used. So if you notice, there is a lightning icon here also, and there's a Q icon here. So this way what it tells you that these are not normal tools now, these are part of your macro. So you are working on a macro tool which will help you to get the result, to get the output out of your workflow process. So now next thing what you have to do is like connect this text box to your formula tool and connect it to the lightning icon here. As soon as you add this lightning, what happens, a new tool called action tool is added, automatically added onto your canvas. Okay, this is something like you might have seen the movie shootings and all that, like where the director will be clicking on that action, this board, and they have to, after that the things started. Same thing here. So you are a director here, you are directing the things, you have to tell the macro that what it need to do. Okay, so what you have to do here, you just go here in the action tool. So update the values. There are three things here: update raw XML data, and update value, and update value with formula. So we'll be using a update value. So formula field, this is the formula what you have added here in the formula, remember? So this is the same thing what you have done here. I want my value as 5 to be replaced again and again based on my requirement. So I'll just change, I'll check this option, replace a specific string, and I'll remove remaining things and I'll keep only this 5 number. So this way what I want, my user will be keep on updating this value according to his requirement. That is what I want. So a macro is created, macro is ready. Now what else? Can we directly use this? No, we have to save this macro. So what I'll do, I'll just go to file and I will say save as. I can save this as a local file or in the gallery. Okay, so for now I'll be adding it as a local file. So here I'll go to my desktop and I'll save this as test macro. So I'll save it as test macro, and if you notice that the extension of this macros are .yxmc. So you have to remember what are the extension of macro, standard workflows and apps. And here you see that macro is yxmc, workflow is yxmd. Okay, so remember these things. I'll just save this. So the macro is created, and if you go to my desktop and here you see this, so icons of the three different things are obviously different. So one is macro, standard workflow, and another thing, third thing is apps. So the icons are different so that you can easily differentiate them. Now we have created this macro. What else? So what I'll do, I'll just create a new page, and I'll just load some data here. So a normal input data tool, that is what we are doing. So as I told you, this macro is a single tool, a small icon, and which is holding a information. So which is holding a information. So I'll add that a new file. So I'm just loading the superstore subset CSV file, and here like we have all these values, all these columns and everything. Now since we are reading in a CSV file, obviously I have to put, like I have to use a select tool which will help me to change the data types. It's a very important thing. If you forget, then all your columns will be reading up as strings. So I'll just, for now, for the testing purpose, since we are doing it for testing purpose, so I'll just change column name for, like, column data types for few columns only, just to show you. So I have just changed the data types for profit and sales only. Now what I need to add that macro. So how do you add the macros? So right click, say insert, and say macro, and you will find this thing. So you can either browse to the location, or you can just click on the macro what is showing up here. So I'll just click on this, and that macro is added here. As I told you just now a few minutes back, that macro will be showing up as like input and output anchors. So these are called anchors, as you already know. So I and O. So this is your input anchor, this is your output anchor. Now what else I need? I just need to add a form like a browse to, so that I can show you the data or the result output of this. And here I have to define, obviously I need to configure the tool. So I'll see only two columns here, whichever is defined as double. So I'll take, let's say, sales, and there I have multiplied by 5 in the macro, but now I'll change it to 10, so that I can easily like see the values. So that is, configuration is done. Now I'll run this workflow. So this is a normal workflow here, and now I'll get the result. So here you see that I'll get a new column called result, which will get me the result of sales multiplied by 10. So sales is, here you see the number column which is changed to, like, sales column which is changed to the number. So this 5.9 is the original value, and multiplied by 10 it is 59. 13.01 is the original value, 130.1 is the new value, which is the result of your macro. So like this you can create many number of macros. This is a very basic kind of example which I have showed you. Like incoming videos, like I'll show you a very like extensive macros also. We'll have work on batch macro, iterative macros, and location optimizer macro. So for now, just like go through this and try to replicate it, try to do it by yourself, and try to implement with new data sets.